And this is basically how it could look when once put into action. So if you're a team and you're physically at the same place, print out a very big A0, A1 copy of the business model canvas. And what you can do with Post-its is really easily fill the different building blocks. You can change, you can throw them away, and later also probably can also draw arrows how you want to connect these different contents, basically. There's also nice tools on Miro, for example. It can be all done online with virtual Post-its. So there are many tools, and as I explained in the beginning, it is something that is very iterative, that can be challenged from outside, that you can probably also show, which is also a recommendation to someone who is absolutely not familiar what you're doing, but probably if you do it right, understands what you're doing. So on the next slide, I'll show you an example of a specific canvas, and I let you basically look at it, and I'll give you, let's say, 30 seconds so that you can find out whose business model canvas it is. I give no hints. It's not super difficult. I'm sure most of you already have found out. And yeah, give you another 10 seconds. Very good. So the answer is Tesla. No surprise here. I think what Tesla is doing right now is something that can be described as very disruptive. But obviously, it's not only the cars that are nice and shiny and perform well. It's really interesting what is basically below the surface. What services are provided? How are cars sold? It's not the old-fashioned way, and most of you know. You can buy them all online without even having, kind of tested them. Some people fully trust the reputation and do this, and I think that's it's going to be also the future of other car manufacturers, how they're going to sell their cars, introducing also VR, AR features in the sales process. So a lot is going to change in this industry, and Tesla definitely was here kind of the phalanx at the forefront for these new approaches. Have a look at the different building segments, building blocks. Sorry, I go back here. And try to relate what I just told you before. I'm happy also to share the slides afterwards. So all perfect. Let's roll and start with this. Maybe not, because every model also has limitations. So what are the limitations here? Probably number one, you're not starting a business right now. In this hackathon, in this competition, it's something that you probably don't have to develop in such a level of detail as you would probably in a more mature company. So 9 building blocks are probably just a little bit too much for the purpose. Also, for the second point, in the same context, you only have a limited amount of time. And such a model can also be very distractive. It can be very much fun. The more Post-its basically you put on the canvas, the more inspiring it gets. And you go on and iterate and iterate. And probably it's getting better, probably not. But what's for sure, you're going to lose time. You're going to be relatively fast, Probably try one direction, a second one, but then really focus on whatever your hypothesis is. And probably another point that I sometimes feel it's missing is also the vision. As an entrepreneur or a future entrepreneur, you have to have the big vision. It goes a little bit into the building block of value proposition, but not fully. A vision is more than a value proposition. It's really something which is really long term, and can be, for example, in the context of Tesla, to completely disrupt the classical car manufacturers world. So what are the alternatives? And there is an alternative also provided by Strategizer that you can see here, and it's called Value Proposition Canvas. As you can see, it has basically only two parts, which makes it, yeah, let's say, more useful, less complex, and more to the point. The vision that I mentioned before is not part of this, but is also something that just you could think about separately for, let's say, for a little brainstorming session of 5 to 15 minutes, not mandatory, you know, for this task here. So what does the value proposition canvas consist of? On the right-hand side, you see the so-called customer profile, the circle, and on the left-hand side, it's the company's value proposition. So it's two parts taken out of the 9 building blocks, which are the very essence of what you actually should do in the very beginning. If you have another look at the circle here, just to quickly describe you the single parts. So you have gains. Those are the benefits the customer expects and needs. Something, what would delight the customer, the things which may increase likelihood of adopting also the value proposition on the left-hand side. You have pains. So those are negative experience, emotions, and risks that the customer experience in the process of getting the job done. You have customer jobs. Those are functional, social, and emotional tasks customers are trying to perform. Problems they are trying to solve, and needs they wish to satisfy. If you now look at the left-hand side, to the value map, you have gain creators, so how the product or service creates customer gains and how it offers added value to the customer. Pain relievers, those are is a description of exactly how the product or service alleviates customer pains. And products and services, those are the products and services which create gain and relieve pain and which underpin the creation of value for the customer. So here again, you basically fill this out with your post-its virtually or physically. And what you now should do is really achieving a fit between the value proposition and the customer profile. So after listing gain creators, pain relievers, and products and services, each point identified can be ranked from nice to have to essential in terms of value to the customer. And the fit is achieved when the products and services offered as part of the value proposition address the most significant pains and gains from the customer profile. So basically, the more, it's not about how many arrows you have from left to right. It's really also about the importance. So here we're already talking a bit about focus. If you can identify, let's say, 3 each, so 3 arrows from gain creators to gains and 3 from pain relievers to pain, that's already probably the upper limit of what you could do. And then in the further process, an additional step is to investigate the extent to which a company has a competitive advantage in those areas to ensure that the value proposition is unique and sufficiently differentiated. So there, probably a matrix can be used to plot each aspect of the value proposition with respect to its value to the customers and the competitive advantage the company has in offering that product or service. So bottom line, you have here a very compact tool, and really use it. I think one of probably the most common mistakes that a startup, very early startup or an idea is that you have this great idea, this great technology, but nobody wants to use it. Nobody has that pain. Nobody gains something from it. So that you basically are left with this great idea nobody wants to use. So this is really to prevent this. Also try to test it in the very beginning only with the people that are close to you, or what the opportunities are, to find out if this problem is real. So here we're talking really about this relationship between problem and solution. Ask yourself, what is the problem that I want to solve? What is the solution? And then come basically to a conclusion that leads in a proper value proposition. So I think that's already it from my part. I'm a little bit early, but I think that there's no harm to it. It was nice to present for you. I wish you all the best for the competition. I'm really eager and excited to see what ideas will be developed, and in ideal world, probably also then further supported through one of the ESA business incubation centers throughout Europe, or here in Switzerland. You can also connect if you want via LinkedIn. You see my name, it's not put here. And also happy to support you if you have questions here specifically to the business model canvas, or generally in terms of creating or how to create the business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cyril. As we already said, we will be communicating with you, so you participants with you on Discord. So if you have any questions, please send them to us. We will also be able to send you all the material that was discussed right now through this channel. And now I would like to pass the floor to Reik. Reik, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. If Cyril, if you could unshare your screen, then we can move on to the next session, next speaker. Thank you so much.
So I will take over. So thanks a lot for the really nice input already, considering how to use and apply the business model canvas. And I will focus a bit more on the theory. It's a nice tool, and how it works actually in practice, both from a side, from a more scientific point of view, as well as from a startup point of view. So as you learned, there's these famous business canvas. It was developed by Alexander Osterwalder, and it is really a smart guy. It has big value, and you will have no chance to avoid working with it. Because more or less every accelerator, as every investor, every startup coach, mentor will move you in this direction, fill it out. And it's not so bad to get into touch with the new terms. You maybe heard the first times this evening, like value proposition, what are revenue streams, what is the difference to royalties, what are customer segments, so all these stuff. For me, it was pretty new. I'm from natural science. I had no idea about these kind of things. So it was for sure not bad to get into it. But there are limitations of these models. The one Cyril already pointed out, that in the value proposition box, there's actually the problem, solution, and the value proposition mixed, which makes it rather confusing. And then you have the customer segment where we should focus on it, which is somehow separated. So from my point of view, it's a limitation, and Osterwalder also realized it because it's a smart guy, as you can easily see. He has good ideas. So that's the reason why he also made business out of this business canvas model. So he's one of the founders, of course, of Strategizer. And he moved out, well, the next step from this business canvas model was his value proposition canvas, where he moved in these problem solution value proposition and the cost segment in a simplified, a bit more simplified tool, which I really like. It's really cool. If you fill out these value proposition canvas, you end up with a one sentence mission where you can explain in one sentence actually what you are doing. And that's so helpful, really helpful. So it's a nice tool, but of course, other people also are clever and thinking about how to build up a business model, and one of them is Ash Maurya. So he developed, based on this business canvas model, lean canvas, which fits a bit more to startups, in particular for startups acting in the ICT sector, so in the information communication technology sector, where most of the software companies are active. So as you can see here, the problem, solution, value proposition, and customer segment are separated in individual boxes. Besides that, it's more or less the same, but it's a bit more sorted out because it's a bit more flexible, as you need to be flexible as a company active in ICT, because there the development are rapid. So you need to change quite often your business model, or at least you need to adapt it. So it's better to have a more lean strategy. So these are the models, and in practice, there are not only two, there are a lot. So there are a lot of different business models. So that's the reason why other smart people develop the business model navigator, who turns which business model fits to your idea. And it's pretty hard to find a good mentor coach who say, well, I know there's a business canvas model, but for your product, for your problem, for your solution, it may not fit. So go with this business model. So be critical. So that's the first point. And don't stick too much on your first, second, or third version. So really rework on this thing. It's a living document. You need to have a look every second week on it and adapt it and refine it and delete some parts you are not necessary to do. So it's something you need to work on it. And that's one of the biggest limitations, because as a startup, you normally don't have time. Or you want to have time to acquire customers, to get money, to survive. So it's a necessary thing which costs you a lot of time. So you need to balance a bit. So from my experience, a business model is not static, and this makes it high time consumption. So you need to work a lot on it during the time. At least during the first 5 years, we were working on it every month, several hours. Second one is always get a second opinion about what you're doing. So there are a lot of experts. They will support you, coach you. These experts are not necessarily the right experts for you. During this hackathon, you will work in the field of remote sensing Earth observation. Last year we had a big application for some support program, and the main expert rejected our application with this comment, like, remote sensing is a consultative approach which was evaluated as not be scalable. Bam! So you are dead with this kind of rejection. You can accept it, or you can say, well, this guy was obviously not up to date, because remote sensing is, of course, scalable. It's a really cool tool. It's an incredible big market. So we just not accepted the decision and handed in again and went through rather smooth with another expert. So don't trust the first expert who think he can give you a good feedback. So always be critical. So there are a lot of experts, but it doesn't mean they are always right. Then a new product doesn't mean that you already have a business. A nice idea is not like a business. To have some customers not means you have a business. So there are a lot of rather successful companies. They have a lot of business model failures, still surviving, developing, but some niche markets, they just failed. So that's normal. So with each new product, you have the risk to fail. That's something you should accept. It's something which is not bad because you can learn out of it. So the preparation to fail also gives you the flexibility to change something, to adapt, and to make something better. So in 90%, you will fail with your initial idea. So just accept it and make it better. And a good thing is to get into this mood that is not too much pressure in terms of failing, is that you are really confident about what you are doing. It not means, hey, you need to have a 24/7 week for 5 years, ignoring your social life, your family, whatever. It's just like, be confident that you will be successful, that you have something of value, that you can solve a problem. Just be confident. So one of these be confident parts is know your product. So you will be working on products, on services, really think about what is the beauty of this product. You need to love your product. You need to be convinced that it's the best product you can create and what you can sell. Even if it is maybe from a business point of view better to sell a shitty product because you have higher revenues, I would never do it. Be proud of your product. Be confident that it's the best what you can do. So that's something really important. And in the ICT sector, this means always improve the product. You will have every 2 weeks, every month, you will have new algorithms, you will have new data, which can improve your product, that will improve your product, and you have a lot of competition, they will do it. So you always need to improve, always. Otherwise you just die, you are too slow. So in this sector, you always need to improve your product, and the product, even if it is pretty complicated in the back in terms of algorithm, it should be really easy to use. So it should be a plug and play type of product. The people are not used to it to get into the full complexity of your product. They like to have, I need to press this button and it works. So really make it easy of use. That's something which is strongly related to actually the customer profile. I will talk about later on, but make it easy for them. It doesn't matter how complex, complicated it is in the background. And make it adaptable. So you need, with your product, adaptable to new developments on the market, new algorithms, new processing powers, new data, new competition. So it needs to be a product which is not too static. It should be flexible, modular, that you can improve it in a really efficient way. So it's really everything about your product. And of course, you need to know your customer. The one is, I have a really cool product and it's really outstanding and the best on the market, but actually you can only survive if someone is buying it. Otherwise it's just fun for you that you know, hey, I have the best thing on the market, but if no one buys, you will die. So know your customer. And from our experience, in this field, they need time. You are working with data they are most probably don't know so good. You are using technology, they maybe not too familiar with it, just thinking about cloud infrastructure, cloud services, etc. So they need time to get into the topic, to implement it, to test it, to evaluate it. What is the value for them? Because it's a new approach. It's a radical innovation, these kind of things. You will work in these hackathons. You are working with data. They not exist in these specifications 10 years ago. And you have computational resources which not exist 10 years ago. So easy to use, so cheap to use. So it changes a lot. Teach them. As I mentioned, they have actually no idea what is possible, which is pretty difficult for you because there's a lot of competition. They have products. They are maybe not so good as yours, but the customers cannot see the difference. So you need to teach them what are the limitations of your product, what are the limitations of the data, what is the limitations of your approach in comparison to other. Be open, open innovation, share your product, allow cross comparisons. Teach them that a specific accuracy not means the product is good or bad. Everyone who is a bit familiar with statistics know if you want to reach a 99.9% accuracy, it's easy. You just need to adapt your accuracy or validation design. So it's something you can do as you wish. For the customer, it's always like, oh, hey, but they say 99% and you have only 75%. So they are better. Well, from the accuracy metrics, yes. From the product quality or from the benefit or the advantage of this product for the business of the customer, most probably not. So it's something you need to invest time. Building up a customer relation where you need to teach a lot. And the last thing is stay calm. So as I showed you with this comment from this expert, there are a lot of people, they have really interesting opinion, in particular about satellite data, data security, what is possible with satellites by tracking down your car number from space. So all these things they maybe saw in some movies, so they have no idea. So you should stay calm, explain what is possible in space, even with the spy satellites, and explain what is not possible. So don't become too arrogant. Normally you need these kind of people that they buy your product. So stay friendly, stay calm, teach them and give them time, and then it works out. Which means you as a startup, you need a bit more time than maybe startups in another field. In these type of products and services we are working, the people need some time. So you will not be the next unicorn within 3 years. Forget about it. It not exists in the Earth observation domain in the last 30 years. So now just some examples how business models could look like. And I selected some startups in Europe. So the one is Space Sense. And actually Space Sense use satellite data, airborne data, drone data to generate, calculate a thematic layer, so a map layer with a specific information which is useful in the field of agriculture. For example, soil moisture. So how much water is stored in the soil, which is a really good indicator how well you can survive in periods of drought, for example. And they provide it. So you can buy this product, you can create specific regions where you also have a notification system behind. If this value of soil moisture is below a specific threshold, then you get an alert, hey, come on, you need to do something. Either start the yield, start harvesting, collecting yield, or start some irrigation procedures. So you can work it and implement it in your operational activities. They also sell the software. So not only the product, the map layer, but also a software where you can work on it, where you can visualize this information, where you can do some analytics, statistics out of it. So how these soil moisture changes in the last 20 days, how it changes in the last 5 years. Of course, you can also order via this companies the relevant data, so the raw data, the base data. So you can use also the data to build up your own procedure around, maybe doing some additional statistics. So if you have some field measurements in situ measurements by your own company, you can mix it with these satellite-based, index-based map layers and getting another new product in your own company. So it's something you can also order. So as you can see, it's say selling software, a service, data. So complete different fields where you get different revenue streams. So are different channels where you can get money. The customers are of course different. So as you can see here, there's this classical B2B, business to business. You sell the information to another company, which get an added value for their customers, or you sell it directly to, for example, a specific farmer. who really likes it for his daily business. So he just created an account and have a license to use these data, this service for his specific area of interest. So it's a rather classical approach. So these type of companies exist a lot with different focus: water quality, air quality, crop, forest. It's a quite common approach. Differences is in the quality. How good are the layers, and how good is the processing, how fast, how reliable, etc., etc. A step further goes Picterra. It's a Swiss company I really like, a Swiss startup. So they have also a platform. They have also a service. They have also the data. What they not really have are these really focused product, because they just say, well, there are unlimited fields of application. So if you have customers, they want to do something with data and with clever algorithms, we provide the algorithms, we provide the data, and then just the customer say what he wants to do. So if you want to detect trees, he can just train a classifier, and then the classifier classify all these trees in a specific area. So you can build on your customized, tailored solutions with the data you needed, with a really clever algorithm, and really tailored to your needs. If you are looking for a really specific tree, like an oak tree or whatever, you can train the classifier just to classify oak trees, and then it works. So that's the beauty of this approach. And Picterra also goes in the field of education, NGOs, and so they have a really wide field of applications, a really diverse field of customers, quite different revenue streams as well. So they have different ways how you can work with the software, how you get the data. So you can just use them also as a data reseller to get clip for your specific area, really specific commercial data, which is hard to get. So really nice. And of course, also B2B and B2C, but more open. So it's a really powerful tool, really nice, free demo. So you can also try it out in the frame of the hackathon. So it's really cool. And then the next step would be, well, generating your own data. And there, most probably you know it. It's a company, a Finnish one, ICEYE. So they have their own satellites. They developed their own satellites, satellites active in the microwave field of the electromagnetic spectrum. So these are satellites sending out. So if you have a satellite sending out beams to the Earth, and these beams are reflected by some objects back, and then you know pretty well where is this object and how fast this object is moving and what are the properties of this object. And they have several of these satellites in space, and that's really useful. So if there is an event happened, for example, a flood or a crash of an oil tanker or something, you can make a call. I want to have satellite data of this region. And you have 45 minutes later, you have your image everywhere in the world. 1 hour, and you have your image where it is. It's awesome. It's really awesome. So they provide this data, but they now also build up a software where they have pre-trained algorithms, where you get a notification service. For example, this region is really interesting. I want to know when there's a flood event happened, or if there's a drought event happened, or if there's some clear cut in the tropical region happened. And then you get the information, it happens, and see, they can provide this information actually on a daily, on a half a day, on an hourly rate. It's just the money of price. So it's a really, really nice, complex system. It's a bit different league. Yeah? So they have their own satellite fleet in space, but it's really powerful because it's a unique satellite constellation where they can offer unique data and unique products and a unique service. And there are now popping up a lot of other companies. They're also developing remote sensing satellites, Earth observation satellites in the thermal field, like getting some heat signatures from space on the hyperspectral field, where you can really see what is the state of vegetation, if there are some diseases or so. So it will be become pretty crowded in space with all these companies sending up their own satellites. But from a user perspective or from a startup perspective, it's awesome because you are swimming in data. And data you can use, maybe commercial, but a lot from ESA, NASA, also for free, to generate products. You can make business out of it. And that's something you will all work with satellite data. Really think about actually what you can do with this satellite data, having in mind that there will come a lot of new satellite data. So what is right now possible in a weekly or in a monthly system will be available in a few years on a daily period without any problem, I'm convinced. So what is the advantage, what you can do with these kind of things? Think really about your product. And then if you have a really nice idea, I promise you, you will find the right data for it. And if you have a really nice idea what you can do with satellite data, I promise you, you will find customer, which not means that you will have a successful business, because maybe the customer just not have enough money, or they are not willing to pay the price you want to have, or they have some other issues, security issues or so. So sometimes you have customers with a specific need, a specific pain. You have a product which fits perfect to this customer, but at the end it not works out because of. And there are pretty a lot because of situations. That's the reason why you need to be flexible. That you say, well, okay, you don't like this one, but what's about these kind of things? This we can do as well, because we just change the data input. Or yes, of course we can do it because we change the algorithm. So these are these small things you can always adapt if you have a proper base of your algorithm service product you generated, you have the idea. And it's incredible, in our case, how much different types of customer you find. So for example, we are active in the field of snow. We started with snow in the field of tourism, like these outdoor platforms. Most probably you know about Komoot or Interactive, All Trails. There are quite a lot of them. And they're using these nice digital maps, and then you have a layer. Okay, there's snow, and so much snow it is. That's the point where we started. And then we realized, well, there is a market, there is a need, they all like it, but there's not really a big business behind, because it works via royalty sharing. So how many people buying the app or the account because of your snow layer, it's really hard to figure out. So it's not a big business, but we like it. We really like this business. So that's the reason why we continue, even if we not get rich in this field, but we like it. We like this snow idea for tourism. And now we have several customers in Europe, also in the States. They all like this product, and they're paying, and it's nice. It's not enough to become rich, but it's not the important stuff. But we also realized, okay, we get a lot of projects and money comes in, so we got visibility, and now other customers came. Customers from hydropower, customers from the forest management, customer from infrastructure management, like the railways, etc. Like the big dam construction buildings. So everything which is somehow related to snow, avalanches, a lot of water, because snow is something that changes in the frame of global warming. So it's uncertainty behind, and we can map it on a daily basis. And that's pretty cool. So we need to adapt it just slightly, and suddenly the product fits also to the hydropower market, and fits to the insurance market, and then it fits to the forest management market. So it's pretty cool. And if you have a good idea now with these hackathon, how you can improve the living in green spaces, but with a good idea, start with your initial idea and just be somehow convinced that there will be customers you maybe not thought about right now, that they are around. Because, as I mentioned before, a lot of people don't know what is possible with Earth observation. And Earth observation remote sensing is a fantastic tool. Objective data, measurements from space, everywhere in the world, and you can have it every hour. Do something with it, make business with it. And that's the only thing I really want to give you for the next weeks. Fall in love with this data, fall in love with Earth observation. It's worth. It's one of the most beautiful technologies I know. Okay, so thanks a lot. And if there are any questions, just send a mail and we will come back to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Reik, for also this very inspiring and very honest session. Again, also thank you to Cyril. This was really, for me, I learned a lot actually. I hope as well that the participants were still found this interesting and were listening. So please send us your questions. If you have directly questions for Cyril or Kubr, to Cyril or Reik, let me know, and I will also forward them, and we try to answer them as well as good as possible. And yes, please join us again tomorrow. The next, the Big Idea campaign goes on, and we will be back again tomorrow at 5. Thank you very much.